melt this when I'm ocean wave.
Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Washington Lee coach Mike Singleton, who his Washington Lee boys just qualified for the Final Four for the second time in school history, or at least Coach Singleton's history. Coach, good seeing you again. Congratulations.
Well, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah. Well, let me remind people of your record because it's pretty amazing. You're a Massachusetts native who played at Pennsylvania. Your dad, I believe, is a Liverpool fan, which is why you probably end up liking soccer or being forced to play soccer. But you coached at MIT for between 2011 2013. This is your 10th year at WNL. 4 times you've won the ODAC, 4 Sweet 16s. I think this might be your 5th. This is your 5th, or is this your 4th?
5th, yeah. 5th out of the last 6.
Yeah. Your A license, USSF, and as you told us last time, you take licenses around the world. You're also a professor of sports psychiatry at WNL. Coach, did I get most of that right?
Yes, you did.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, look, the first thing I wanted to talk about with you is that, last year you had a lot of seniors on your team. And I remember you saying you had great chemistry. Your kids had a lot of fun when they played. Other teams' parents would even tell you that. But you lost Samuel Bass, Michael Cutsatanya, I believe, Charlie Colby, Tyler Smith, 2 players of the year, 4 first-team all leagues. So that's a huge amount of firepower and great players' leadership to lose. You did return Whammy Agabaye. When you think about, replacing all those parts and trying to build another team, it must have felt like a pretty daunting task for you.
Well, definitely a lot of transition. And it was funny. We played the alums in a spring season game. And one of my alums came up to me and said, "Hey, we got 5 All-Americans on our team. You guys have none." And I said, it's a funny way to look at it. But, without what we're trying to get you to do, you probably wouldn't have been an All-American. So
exactly.
I trust that some of these guys will become that too.
Yeah.
And, but since we knew what we were losing, it was really focused on team effort, team defense. I think we're a better passing team. I think we're a better overall defensive team. We don't have, some of the jokers like Michael and Sam, or Meisters on the ball who could put you on their back and carry you. So it's much more a balanced effort of everybody really making sure they're doing their role and stepping up. And, the last 3 to 4 weeks, they've really found their form and really come together as a group. And, sometimes you just need to be hot at the right time. And, we got 3 shutouts in the 4 NCAA tournament games so far. So our team defense is really leading the charge this time.
Yeah, it's one thing that's apparent when you look through your statistics. Last year, I would have described you as high flying. I mean, and coming into I think I talked to you before the Final 16 last year, you'd won every game by 3 or 4 goals, and they weren't even close. You've won a bunch of one goal games. Matter of fact, you qualified for the Final Four on penalties in a scoreless game against Colorado College, but you beat Tufts on a game winner by Mateo Adler, but it was a 1-0 game. So you're finding ways to nick a goal to win a game now, whereas last year the goals were going to come. It's just a matter of time. So I guess it's a different team the way they attack the goal.
Yeah, well, it's what we've had to really sort of get them to buy into is the identity of them this season, and recognizing it's a different identity than what we had last year and the year before, and understanding that defense is what we have to be strong, and then we have to counter quickly and use our speed and really attack from all angles and make sure that we're using those special players we do in the attack as quickly as we can, so teams can't bunker against us. And I think just our midfield defense has improved a great deal, and it's really been something where the guys have understood, no, we're a dangerous counterattack team, but we're going to press you, and we're going to play strong defense and have cover and double downs and really make you work for everything you get. And that's really what's made us successful so far in this tournament.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend named, he's a Dutch coach named Hans. I'm so many Dutch Hans, but I forgot his last name. But he once told me coaching soccer is all about solving problems. see what you have and you try to solve the problems. And that's what you're constantly doing as a coach. So when you think about this team as compared to last year's team, let's go through some of your players this year. Wyoming, again, 13 goals, 6 assists. He's been very consistent. You had this year you have Grant McCarty, 8 goals, 3 assists. Alec Perez comes off the bench, 7 goals, 3 assists. You have 2 first team All-ODAC, PJ Ryan, Will Husef. Will's the goalie, isn't he? Or is that Will?
Yeah, Will Joseph.
Oh, that's great because he was second team last year, so that's good progression there. I mentioned Mateo with the game winner against us. Willie Hall was also second team, and then you have a third team was Will Luke, and then you have another super sub, Buster Koenig. He's 3 goals and 8 assists. That's pretty impressive to get 8 assists. So it seems like you were able to solve what this team needed, and that must be an enjoyable part of coaching, trying to find how this team was going to play and the chemistry of it.
Seeing it come together and seeing the guys start to get the individual confidence and then sort of figure out sort of how they work together best is it's a really fun thing when you see a team gel like that and start to find each other's identities and play to the strengths of each other. And I think that's kind of at different times. We've had a lot of injuries this year, and that's been really tricky in the first weekend of the tournament. I mean, PJ Ryan wasn't even on the field. And Lucas Pleasance, who's been a consistent, strong performer in the middle of the park, wasn't either. So we had to shift around defenders and pull a midfielder to make a outside back and do that. And it's just been that type of mentality. I've been really proud of the guys because it has been them saying, no, look, we got to step up and figure out how to do it together. And they've really kept their focus and really enjoyed the ride. And I'll be honest, it's been a very happy group too. And I think that's been really good is they've just that like when we got past Tufts, they were obviously ecstatic. But then when we won in PKs, I mean, we had alums who were running on the field to dance with the guys, and it was just a fun time. And, I'm happy that the guys get to experience it and that this Final Four is, 45, 50 minutes away from our campus. So hopefully a lot more people will be there for rooting for us, making it a home field advantage, and we can do some more dancing and partying.
Yeah, well, it sounds like I missed a good party. Do you feel like the fact that this team's record wasn't as strong, a few more losses, a few more ties, but having to work through injuries and using more people, maybe that kind of hardened you for the close games of knockout? So sometimes the fact that you have some struggle, maybe that made you a little bit tougher for knockout?
In 2021, when we were the number one ranked team in the country for so long and undefeated for so long, I was worried about it because we weren't playing well, and I needed a team to just beat us up and take it to us to convince the guys that they had to listen because they were just coasting through the season almost. Whereas this season, we've had growing pains. We've had to go through that. At the same point, when you look at the strength of our schedule, I mean, we have one of the top 10 strengths of schedules in the country, and we played 6 teams that were in this tournament in regular season. So we're building the out-of-conference schedule to make sure we are battle-tested and we do take our lumps and learn from them, because I think it's important for a team to understand how to win very contentious, tight games against good teams, and then we can build on sort of what we need to fix as we get into later in the year.
Well, Coach, was there a turning point this year when you thought this team maybe even go to the Final Four, where you became maybe more optimistic than before?
To be honest, the first game we played against Lynchburg at the end of the regular season, our guys played really well. But then it was in the conference tournament. I didn't think we played very well. And so it was funny, the first weekend of this tournament, we were just playing better team defense. And the guys were following the scouting report and executing extremely well. So when we got to the Sweet 16, I was thinking, we should be really proud of this because we lost so much and we're so young, and that's a great season that anyone would think of. But then when I saw Tufts video, it's like, no, we can beat them. I'm like, there's no doubt in my mind that we can take it to them. And so that's kind of been the thing is, when I see the matchups and I see what we have, we match up well against teams. Because we do have a lot of different goal scorers and different people who contribute, but we have just such great effort on the defensive side from guys right now. And if you limit the amount of goals, if we limit people to 0 or 1 goal, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because we'll find ways to score most games we play. And that's just kind of what it's about. Is I think right now the guys, a lot of them have been here before. So all the juniors and seniors were here before. So they know what it's like. And, they think back to 21 and think of some of the stuff that went against us. And it's a bitter pill. To this day, there's bitterness and anger about it because we don't feel like at the end of the day, we could have done our best given what was done to us. So now it's the guys who are here and experience that. They kind of, they're coming at it with experience and confidence and saying, nope, we know who we are and what we do. And as long as we do that, we'll be okay. And we're not going to let something else control our fate this time.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned last year how tough the ODAC is, and I forgot what coach it was, but he said that this is like the 5th place team in your league. They'd played like a jamboree or whatever you guys call it in college, and this year it looked like it was wide open again. And you did lose, as you mentioned, you lost to Lynchburg, and I'm actually close friends with Benji Velasquez. He's their player of the year defensive. He's good friends of I'm good friends with his dad, and he played with my son growing up. But that was a tough loss. Now in basketball, there's almost no relation with winning a conference tournament and how far you go in the NCAA. And and I know soccer's a little bit different. But is there a side of that sometimes it's okay to lose the conference tournament because, first of all, it gives you things that you can tell the kids, like, look, we've been doing well, but this is knockout now. Or were you really concerned after that loss?
I wasn't concerned after that loss because it is something where if you look at who's won the national championship at D3, it's consistently teams who haven't won a conference tournament. And it's very rarely a team that has won their conference tournament.
Yeah.
So that's just sort of the way it is. Whether, 2 years ago, it gave us like an extra week of training to get ready for the NCAA tournament, which we wouldn't have had if we had progressed. This year, we didn't get extra training, but I think it was good just because the guys, they knew they had to fight for it. They didn't come in thinking, oh, this is, going to be an easy tournament or any game was going to be easy. They've come in really sort of with their lunch pail mentality and really been focusing on how we can be our best team each day. And that's been sort of a joy to be around. And, what I'm enjoying as a coach right now is in practices, their mentality is awesome. They are killing it right now and working so hard and pushing each other and just so excited to be able to prove to others that we're a much better team than people thought this year.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I believe you hosted the first round of the NCAA again this year, and you played West Connecticut State and SUNY. Was it Onesta? What? Okay. Yeah. And, obviously there are programs like Tufts and Amherst, and you'll see these teams every year. They're always in the top 20. When you play these other Division III sides, are you often surprised of the quality in the sides? Like, so when you knew these teams were coming down, did you know you had tough battles were ahead?
Amherst is a perpetual top 20 team. They're always in the mix too and getting to a lot of Sweet 16s. And I know I've known their coach for years, and I knew they were going to be a very strong team for us. Western Connecticut is the first time they've been there. But they're a gritty team. They're an older team. They have some 25, 26-year-old done, which creates a little bit of a different animal to play against. But we knew in that Western Con game that they weren't used to playing the tough teams that we were playing. And that's the difference of our strength of schedule between that team was over 100 points. So you just knew that we were battle tested, whereas they weren't battle tested. They were mediocrely tested.
Yeah.
So that was the advantage we had. And then in Oneonta, we knew what they were going to do. And our idea was take it away from them and see if someone else can beat us, because we know their two outside midfielders, 10 and 30, were extremely talented and tricky and fast. And we just practiced making sure we could shut those down and take them out of the game and say, okay, if you guys are going to beat us, it's not going to be from those two. Figure out how to do it else. And they didn't do enough to figure that out. So that worked for us. And in Tufts, their best attacking player, he had opportunities, but they weren't great opportunities. And, we held firm when they were hitting crosses in. So, that's part of the game is we're taking away the things that those teams are trying to do. And that's going to be the key to us on Friday as well, is they got some really creative attackers who have good speed and they have good size, and they try to put a lot of balls in that box. And they have a 6'7" forward, a 6'4"
Wow.
forward,
Jeez.
a 6'4" center back, and a 6'3" center back who all go forward. And you got some giants in there. But if we don't give away many set pieces, and if we don't give away many corners, and then we just make them play over the top, well, they're not going to have a whole lot of that. So let's see if they can beat us somewhere else.
Yeah, I didn't know Peter Crouch had a son who was playing over here. Yeah. So Coach, you basically you scored the winning goal against Tufts, Matteo Adler, and you basically defended it for almost 200 minutes without giving up a goal. That's got to be something you're very proud of.
Yes. Yeah. No, I think it's just awesome. I mean, we've given up one goal in the tourney so far, over 4 games, and having one of them go into double overtime. So that's a lot of minutes, and to just allow one goal, I'm very proud of the guys. And that's a big difference from 21, where we let goals in every game we played. Whereas right now we've only let a goal in one of the games. And that's sort of more traditional as to who is successful in this tournament as well. Usually the gunslingers don't have great amount of success because they can't always, beat people 4-2 or 5-3 or whatever it is. But those teams that have sound defenses and really sort of earn what I call the seconds and the inches, those are the teams that grind it out and find a way to get a title.
Yeah. Will you typically play a more defensive lineup or formation in knockout than you would in a regular game?
No.
No. So it's just good defending.
No. It's we are who we are. And for us, it's at times some of those attacking players need to know that they have to play more defense and they have to execute both sides of the ball. And our outside midfielders, we ask a lot of them. They have to work on so many sprints forward and checking back and pinching in. They got to do yeoman's work. But that's kind of what it is. And that's why we like to press high too. So we don't have to make recovery runs as much. If we can win the ball in the front half of the field, we save the legs over the length of the game. And that's important for us. But I do think too, like we are used to substituting a lot and using a lot of players. And that's one of the advantages that we've had in this tournament is some of the teams are only using 2 or 3 defenders and aren't really getting people break time. So on the second day of when you're playing back to back,
yeah,
I mean, you look at some of these guys, they went double overtime both days. So I'm like, all right, they're 220 minutes into soccer playing in 24 hours.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of work.
Well, Coach, that's interesting because as I told you last time, I didn't grow up with soccer. I got into it when my son started playing. And one thing you notice right away is coaches are reluctant to sub their defenders. I mean, they'll sub all American attackers all day long, but a lot of coaches will not touch their back 4 for nothing or back 3. And to me, it seems like it does kind of send the wrong message. If you believe in your bench and you believe in your team, then the next man up should be able to come in and play well, and you should have better legs for a 2-game weekend set. So you're from the school that you will sub your defenders and try to get more guys in the lineup?
At times. It depends on who we're playing as well and how they match up. So with defenders, it really becomes matchup. Like everything we're doing is matchup. So with that, that's key, but you'll see all my midfielders will get subbed, my forward will get subbed, and then sometimes my defenders will get subbed.
Yeah.
But it's something where I look at it and it's just, it is something when thankfully this semifinal and final now have a day off in between. Mm-hmm. So at least it's not just a war of attrition in the championship game. But during the first 2 weekends when it is back to back, you have to sub a lot. You have to go deep because it's inhumane to play a whole nother game within 24 hours. It's just not physically capable of.
Yeah, it's great for the fans, but it's tough for the players. Probably tough for the coach too. Well, are you really thoughtful about penalties? Like, do you think about them a lot? And what was your strategy against Colorado?
We've been practicing penalties probably for like 6 or 7 days, going into the tournament and through the tournament as well, just to make sure we knew who was most comfortable and to have a variety of takers as well. Like in the sort of times that we went, I was able to put in 2 left footers and have 3 right footers to mix up sort of the orientation for the goalkeeper and see how he could read body language from both sides. And then really it's towards the end, it's got to be people who don't lack confidence. That's why Whammy went 5th, because I knew he's never nervous. He can do that. And I knew PJ being a captain and being able to go 6th. He's a blue collar player, and I knew exactly what he was going to do and going to be the forceful sort of stomper he is. And so I knew he wasn't going to get rattled or questioning or worry about going up as well. And Will Joseph, as we call him, Will Joe, he was a beast. I mean, 2 stops. And if you look at what he did, he dove correctly all but one of the 6 kicks. So I give him a lot of props. He really stepped up and was the hero of the day.
Did you guys do any research on the takers for Colorado? Did you know what side they like to go? Or you did?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
We don't leave anything to question.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to do it on the pro level because everything is taped and you can get video, but it's probably a little more challenging at the college level, isn't it?
Yep. But if you go to every website that you can think of, you'll find one and you'll be able to get it. Yeah. And so we were able to see them in a previous corner penalty kick shootout and get an understanding of sort of where their guys like to go in general. So
yeah, I'm a big believer in, Coach, you're the expert, not me. But when you get in that situation with that much pressure, these kids are going to go where they're most comfortable. They are not going to try something brand new in that situation. They want to go to the side that they're the most comfortable. I would think if I was in their shoes.
Yeah, and that's like one of my players who asked. He's like, well, do you think they saw the video of me going before? I was like, I don't care if they have. You just do what you want to do and what you're most comfortable doing, because I don't want them trying to change what they've practiced and what they're most comfortable with, because that is a recipe for mistakes for sure.
Yeah. Do you ever take volunteers that you're not sure how really good at penalty kick takers are, but they really want to take one? Does that factor into your?
Nope. That's how we practice it, because you always get the guys who think they should be, but then if in practice they're missing consistently, there's no question that whether they belong in that top 5 or not.
Yeah, exactly. That is such a hard thing to do. Well, look, before we get to Amherst, let's talk about Salem. I mean, you got to feel blessed, lucky, whatever you want to say, that they're playing the Nationals, 60 miles, probably less. From home. I'm sure it's a place you guys play sometimes. So are you happy that we're playing it at Salem?
Yeah, it's great. It's, Boston was a long trip and it was a 5-day trip for us. So being able to have something so close is huge. And I'm trying to rally as many sort of students and alumni and families there as possible to try to make it like a home field game. Because if we can get our faithful there, and it's, just about 50 miles away, if they can go there and really fill in the stands and be loud, I think that will be just like an extra player for our team, and be something that the guys can really value and cherish as well in the experience.
Yeah. Are you going to treat it like a regular home game and stay at Washington, stay in Lexington, or are you guys going to stay down there?
Stay down there. We're going to practice at home on Thursday, whereas other teams are practicing down there. But then we're going down. Just because if you look at it, if you go down on Thursday for the ceremony stuff, then you're coming back on Thursday, going down Friday, coming back, going back down on that. It's just, you don't need 2 hours of a bus every single day.
Yeah.
And the guys are now used to sort of the professionalism of it as well. They're on a business trip. Yeah. So they got to focus, it's them there for a purpose as a team. So it puts them in a little bit different mentality that I think is important for them to do their best as well.
Yeah. Going back and forth would be like your club coaching days when you have kids that don't want to stay overnight. You end up taking these trips every day and driving you crazy. So, well, you're playing against Amherst, and a team you're probably familiar with because you're from Massachusetts and they are as well. And they're a top program coached by Justin. Is that Saponi? Is that right?
Sapone.
So what do you know about Amherst? So what do you expect? And what are some of the keys to victory for Washington Lee?
There's another sort of a strong program. Every year they're in the mix, and they do a great job as a staff there. They got some really athletic, sort of creative attacking players. So they like to play direct. So we're going to have to make sure they don't get behind us, and also not giving them too many set piece or crossing situations, because they have great size as a team, and they try to throw it into the box a lot. So we'll try to take that away.
I hate to throw it in the box. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
We'll try to take that away from them and use our counterattack and use our midfield, which I think is going to be sort of causing them a bit of problems, and really making it so some of those players that they like to throw forward have to defend. And they don't get to throw as many people forward because they're so busy defending, because we're throwing people forward. So I think, if we counter the way that we can, and it really comes down to the midfield. If they're finding what we call the backside center midfielder a lot and bossing the ball at times, the Amherst team dives in defensively a lot. And that is something that we typically do well with, because we'll use a lot of 1-2s, and I have a lot of good sort of 1v1 guys. So if we can get them to dive in, then I'm sure we'll score. And we got to make sure they don't get behind us and don't get crosses, so we can prevent them from scoring.
It seems like an intriguing contrast of styles. Should be a great game to watch. Now, Coach, when you're playing a 2-game set like this, obviously you can't worry about the second game too much, because you're not going to have to play it unless you win. But do you scout the other teams already? Do you have a sense of, in case you win, so you're prepared? Because it's got to be a pretty quick turnaround. Is that right?
Yeah. Sort of in 90% scouting report on both other teams in the other semifinal. And then when I watch their game before ours, I'll get any sort of more comprehensive notes, because it's always better to see them live. But then, like what I did last weekend is, when we win, I go back after dinner and I'm typing up a scouting report until midnight or 1 a.m, and I'm sending it to the guys for the next day. Here they have a day to digest it, so that'll be better. We can show some video, and they can actually see the team we're playing, and we can really get them ready if we're able to move on. Yeah.
Well, Coach, I'm going to put the link to the game. I know it's probably going to be on your website, or at least ESPN Plus, I believe, for these games. But what time is the game on Friday?
6:30.
6:30. Okay. Oh, evening game. And then if they're for Sunday, what time will it be on Sunday?
Noon.
Okay. Well, great. Well, look, coaches, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I always love talking soccer with you. You have great views of the game and in life. One of these days, if you guys ever play up this way, I don't think you might play Mary Washington sometimes, right? But great to meet you in person one of these days. But until then, I definitely will be checking you guys out.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and hopefully we can bring some sort of good cheer to the area and bring a title home to essentially Rockbridge County here.
Yeah, there's nothing like a cup run. I don't know if you're into basketball at all, but I love watching the movie Hoosiers, just because when you get on that roll and you're trying to win that title, it's something that the players and coaches never forget. And because there's got to be so many situations that you deal with. And there's always going to be some luck involved. And so, when you're able to climb all those mountains and win, it's such a special feeling.
Very true. Very true. So I'm hoping the guys get to keep smiling for at least another couple games.
Yeah. Well, I'm certainly cheering for you, Coach, and I'll be watching from afar.
All right. Thank you much.
All right. Thanks, Coach. I appreciate your time.
We'll see you.
Take care.
My pleasure.